Welcome to this episode of Go Go Director Go, where we're going to be focusing on company management and a company management checklist that we've put together to help you know where you are in the process and help you if you're struggling with some of those planning ideas for your companies and your top 5 or top 10 companies.
My name is Meredith Kahn.
And I'm Emily Lindley.
And we are so happy that you've joined us today and not only are listening to this video, but also taking action, because we know that's sometimes the hardest thing to do, because we feel just like Inspector Gadget, but we've got to put on that spinny hat. We've got to take out our go-go gadget binoculars and we've got to take action so we can fail forward in many instances, fumble along the way, learn from our mistakes, and come out in the end with positive impact and a positive campaign.
Absolutely. So stay tuned to the very end of this video, where we will have a top secret challenge for you if you choose to accept this mission, where we will be focusing on that company management piece.
All right, so let's talk about this tool. Let's back up a little bit. Going back to my director days when I worked on HeartWalk, I remember being overwhelmed, especially leading into the campaign, where you feel like you're on a freight train and things are moving so fast and you feel like you have 100 things to do. I wish I had this tool, because it is, looking at it, and the first time I looked at it, I said, wow, this just makes sense. And this tool is not necessarily a timeline, but it's more of a checklist of items or things or conversations that you should be doing or having with your top companies.
Absolutely. Yeah. These are the things that we want to make sure we're getting out of our meetings when we're either having that goal setting meeting or having those first follow-up meetings prior to goal set or post goal setting, so that we know that we're making the biggest impact we can within the company, and we're doing everything that we can to work with our companies to make the biggest impact they can within their community.
So we also know there's so many steps in the process, and we have, in many instances, many different companies. So what we're asking is for you to identify your top companies, and we call them A, B, and C companies when we categorize them in our system. But some of the companies that you identify might be brand new, and you might have checked them as perhaps a C. But we're looking for you to identify, when I say top companies, I say the companies where you feel they could have most potential, and that are open to a conversation. Because as you'll see on this checklist, there's many steps. And so we can't do every single step with every single company. Right. There's just not enough time in the day. But we can hone in on those companies that will help us move the bar and have the most impact with our campaign.
Yeah, and a note that I want to make prior to really diving into what this checklist looks like is to understand that this checklist can be utilized prior to a goal setting meeting if there are still companies that you have not goal set with and need to, or post goal setting meetings, so that you know what was left on the table, what conversations do we need to circle back and have, so that you have a better understanding of those key components of what successful goal setting meetings look like. And so these are some of the things that we want to make sure that we're walking out of those meetings and out of those conversations with a plan set, and that those are very comprehensive conversations.
Yeah, and to underscore what you said, going back and taking a look, maybe you've already had some conversations, maybe you already have goal set with a company, but filling in this checklist, you'll identify how many times have you walked out of a goal setting meeting and went, I didn't talk about matching gift, or I forgot to talk about who their internal executive champion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is an opportunity for you to identify those blanks and go back and revisit the conversation with your companies.
Yes. And I agree. And, a lot of the things, and two of the things that I would say based off this checklist that would be something I want to make sure we're focusing on, or that I would focus on, are those matching gift plans, and maybe even our top walker plans. These are two major campaign boosters that we have for our Heart Walks. And sometimes those are things that we're maybe not focusing our time on because we're very concerned about our business partner campaigns or citywide executive challenge or, those internal executive champions that we were talking about. And we want to make sure that we are not leaving anything on the table. So I think we should dive in a little bit and talk a little bit about that Top Walker and matching gift plan. What do you think?
Absolutely. We have so many tools, so many resources, so many great examples of how your peers, other markets within our affiliate and around the country are highlighting top walkers and incentivizing top walkers. Fun fact, 3% of our top walkers, 3% of our walkers, 3% of all of our walkers affiliate-wide
across the affiliate
raise more than half of our participant income. It's actually 53% if we're
wowzers.
Yeah, so it just underscores the importance of paying attention to this group of fundraisers. So some questions you can ask yourself, even from the beginning, is do you know who your top walkers are? And I think we, for the most part, many of our directors do know a handful of their top walkers. They can identify them on a piece of paper. They're a board member. They're a friends and family team that was recently impacted. But across the board, are we touching, reaching out to, and cultivating and stewarding, just like we would our top donors, those relationships with our top walkers? And do we really know their story? And if yes, do they really know how much they impact our mission?
Absolutely. I think that's a really great point to make, Meredith. So if I could ask you a question, coming back to the time when you were in the field as a Heart Walk director, what were some of those things you did at your events or some of those things that you did year round to steward our top walkers or your top walkers? And was it pre-event? Was it at your event? Dive into that a little bit if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, so go gadget rewind button. So inviting top walkers to share their story is first and foremost one thing that I saw, which was very impactful. So if a top walker shared their story within their organization, they would be more likely to rally the other employees around them.
That's a great idea.
We also have this really great tool called our Heart Walk websites. So highlighting stories of our top walkers on our website and putting them out in the forefront to the community, pre-event and post-event was always a great thing to do. And I see a lot of markets doing that around the affiliate today. We really need to not only continually thank our top walkers and highlight them, but we also need to think about, and not just the week before our event, but leading up to the event, how are we going to make them feel special at our walks?
Yes.
Do you have a special VIP tent for them? Do you have a special thank you card from a survivor for them? Do you have a special medal for them? Some way to highlight them.
Some way to honor them at the actual event.
Absolutely. So those are just some small things that I can recall. Anything on your end, because you're fresh out of the field?
Absolutely fresh out of the field. Well, one of the other things I want to touch on is the fact that we do have this new rewards participant center that was just started through National, and we do have the new staff Heart Walk portal that you are able to go and order bulk prizes for your campaigns. And the reason I want to touch on that is something that you said about post-event. We do a lot of stewarding prior to the event, and at the event, hopefully we're recognizing these individuals. But what's happening after the event? What's happening on those touch points? Once the event is over, those 30 days have passed where our campaigns are officially closed. Are we still stewarding and are we still touching on our top walkers? They are, as you said before, making up 53% of all income raised across our affiliate. So what are we doing? Do we have them invited to our VIP thank you events? Are we giving them prizes? Are we giving them special thank you prizes from being a top walker? Throughout the year, are you and your executive director, maybe sending them an article or something that their son plays baseball or their daughter is a swimmer or something, and you're sending them nice little touch points to just remind them that we're always thinking of them and we're always thanking them.
Absolutely. And I said it before and I'll say it again. It's just like stewarding our top donors.
Yeah.
And we really, 53%, we've said it a handful of times now, but that it's a significant part of our or portion of our participant income and funds being raised. So keeping those top walkers engaged is so vital to your campaign. We do have, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of resources, a lot of examples. So I'm going to encourage you to reach out to one of us to either connect you with another market so they can share what they're doing, or share with you ourselves what we've seen around that has worked.
I think now's a perfect time to also talk about something else that a lot of the times I think as directors we have so many things in our head and we have so many things we want to talk about with our companies, and as what we're doing at the campaign and what we're doing at the event and all of our creative ideas, that sometimes I feel like matching gifts is something that maybe could be an afterthought. And one of the reasons we want to bring it to the forefront is because we want to make sure that we're working with our companies in a way that maybe they don't know that they have matching gift opportunities, but we do. So we want to make sure that it's not necessarily always us forgetting to talk about it, but that maybe that some of our companies don't know, or some of our participants don't know that they have this opportunity.
Don't know that they have the opportunity, which is number one, or their process might be a little cumbersome on their end. So how are we making that process easier for them? And I'll give you a quick example. I was working with a director who had a matching gift company, and the process was they needed to print out a form, fill out the form, put it in an envelope, stamp the envelope, send it in, which, sounds pretty simple, but when it comes down to today's day where pressing a button on a computer is so much easier, that going and buying a stamp and doing all the paperwork seems, it just can be a barrier to employees filing for that matching gift. So the director made it very easy. Printed out a bunch of envelopes with the company's matching gift address on it.
Wow.
Stamped them, filled out or printed up the form, filled it out to as much information as they could, highlighted the different areas that the employee needed to fill out the information, and hand delivered those forms and envelopes to, I don't know if it was the company leader or the individual coaches, but anyway, made it very, very easy for the employee to fill out a couple of spaces on the form. And
I think you make a very good point there, Meredith. And I think one of the things that we always want to remember is, we do ask a lot of our companies. We are very corporate focused, and we are asking a lot of our company leaders and our executive champions. And so one of the things that I always like to say to keep in mind is not only what our expectations are of them, but what their expectations are of us and how we're helping them to achieve this goal. This is a mutual goal. This is something that we've sat through a goal setting meeting to talk about their potential and maximize their potential, but it's not only on what they're doing, it's what we're doing to help them reach that goal. So I love that you pointed that out, that director took the time to prep them for what they needed with these matching gifts, so that when that time came, that they were ready and they had all their information. It was one less step that they had to do to initially get us the money. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something also to keep in mind is what can we be doing to help this matching gift program move and get those dollars in that we may not have known have been available.
Yeah, and I'll shout out to Patty Harvey because she's the one that took the initiative.
Hey, Patty!
Yeah, and I think too, when we talk about matching gifts, we think about a company's formal program that they have where employees, again, either have to go online or have to fill out a form, send it in, and then we get notified. But as we're having conversations with companies that may not have a formal matching gift program where it's all set up through their systems and HR, could we bring up the conversation of, would you be willing to incentivize your participants or your employees that are participating in the Heart Walk by matching or considering a match of either dollar
X
to dollar,
amount
X
or
amount.
up to some sort of donation.
So being able to put, and a lot of companies have
Are
that.
willing, yeah.
Are very willing to write us a check if their employees are engaged with us and match those fundraising dollars.
I encourage everyone to reach out to your matching gift contact within the Founders Affiliate so that you can learn a little bit more about how our matching gift program works as well, so that you can feel even more comfortable going into your company goal setting meetings and having that conversation and really integrating it in part of those in those initial plans where we're talking about what that campaign is going to look like throughout the year. So to your point, maybe they don't have a formal matching gift program, but then you can transform that conversation into, is this one more way that we can increase their potential when we're first meeting with them?
Absolutely. And it's about having the conversation. It's about asking, because the answer is always no to the questions that you don't ask.
That you don't ask.
So putting it out on the table and just taking action, as we said at the very beginning. And if you get a no, it's a no. You're one step closer to a yes. So have those conversations. I love this checklist. I love being able to see what steps I've taken with each company and what steps I haven't. So I know what I need to revisit with them and what conversations I need to have with them. And I think too, it helps with, well, I already talked to them last week and I have, I don't have anything else to say and I don't want to be a pest. Whereas if you can, identify, wow, I never shared with them our top walker plan. If you have a top walker plan, and you should have a top walker plan, but you can reach back out to that company
and start those follow-up conversations.
And have that conversation. Yep.
And we talked a lot today about a lot of different ways to boost your campaign and a lot of different ways to increase that goal setting conversation and make them more comprehensive and more in depth with, to your point, with this checklist of talking about not only having a coach kickoff or company kickoff, but are we doing walker rallies, the kickoffs, or things like that? Are we scheduling coach and top walker visits when we're meeting them for this company goal setting? And, we talked a lot about what we want that conversation to look like. But we also want to mention that there are a number of tools and resources that we have in Founders, but as well as national, that are made for directors to make these conversations a little bit easier.
Yeah, our National Heart Walk site, if you haven't as a staff member, as a Heart Walk director, gone onto our National Heart Walk site, there is a plethora material. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Material out there. So many resources, so many professional looking resources. There's one of my favorites is the company rally deck. Which really outlined, it doesn't, and it's a deck, so it's a PowerPoint presentation where you can plug and play.
Yep.
But not only that, but it has an internal slide only at the beginning that helps you outline the entire company rally and what things to consider, how to frame it with an organization, who you would like involved. It's just
what you want those outcomes to be.
Absolutely. So company rallies are a great campaign booster, and so that tool gives you all the resources you need to pull a company rally together. We have a really great quick start guide for coaches.
For our coaches. Yeah, I think our coach quick start guide is a great place to start, especially if you are doing a rally that's just around those coaches. Not only do we have a coach orientation PowerPoint deck on our national site, but we also have this Heart Walk Hero quick start coach guide. That's a tongue twister.
Easy for you to say.
See, just like on Inspector Gadget, I also stumble. And in this guide are great ways to get coaches started with those easy steps of personalizing their pages and making sure that they are sending emails or text messages through the mobile app or things like that, and just making sure that they have all the resources they need to be successful as a coach. So these are just some of the resources that we have available on our National Heart Walk site.
Absolutely. I would encourage you to visit that site and peruse all the tools that are available, because we don't want to spend our time reinventing the wheel, duplicating something that's already been done, creating a resource that's already out there. So please, if you can visit that site, great. Reach out to Emily or I if you're looking for a resource, because 9 times out of 10, I don't know about you, I go to the national site for those resources and forward them along.
Agreed.
So good news there.
Yeah,
all right.
We've got our goal setting PowerPoints and goal setting calculators that National put out back in December as well, that are made specifically for you to go out and be having effective goal setting conversations with your companies. And a lot of it is, to your point before, there's a lot of those internal slides first, so that you know what prep work you need to do or prep work we want to have done. So when we go into that meeting, we're prepared. We know exactly what we are looking for. We know exactly what the conversation looks like that we want to have with these companies. So there are a ton of tools and resources. And as Meredith said, please reach out to us. Make sure that we are your resources. We're here to help you. So by all means, reach out to us if you can't find it on the national site, and we're happy to share that information with you.
Yeah. So just a caveat, you might hear something in the background. We are filming here live and off-site. So
in a top secret location.
So it sounds like somebody's having fun in the break room next door. So in a top secret location. I almost jumped the gun there for a minute before you were talking about some of the other tools that we had. But I think we might be ready for our top secret challenge.
Yes, absolutely. So as we mentioned before in the beginning of this video, if you choose to accept this mission, we have a top secret challenge for all directors when it comes to company management, and that is to fill in your top 5 companies on this checklist, whatever that looks like, and be prepared to have a conversation with your ED and or your consultant to discuss next steps and areas for opportunity for each company. This will, as we mentioned before, really give you a comprehensive look of those key components to your campaign.
Yeah, and I'll just end with it. It doesn't matter where you are with your campaign. You have your top companies. So whether your campaign's right around the corner, or you've got a couple months to go, 2-3 months to go, there is still time to make an impact. There is still time to think and meet with your top walkers and develop what that's going to look like at your event. There's still time to get a CEO or somebody at a top level within those companies to give the support to all those feet on the street within their organization.
Great point.
There is time to have those conversations, accept that challenge, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Go, director, go.
Go, director, go.